cool it. You've seen a lot today, but I am not a Bolivian.
3 ballistic missiles are about to blow this entire block to hell and kill all of your friends.
Sir, you're going to kill us. Sir, you're wrong. Now stop this.
So what I wanted to show today was a video I worked on early January of this year, 2019. So I had spent a really long time trying to figure out how to transfer motion capture data with Vive, VR Vive Steam. And once I figured out how to do that with the help of a few people and lots of money and about 90 hours, I finally figured out how to capture it with about 95% accuracy. There's still some issues with it, like the feet slide just a little bit, but it's nothing that you can't fix up with a root transform. So the scene, what you just saw, was a scene that I made, again, as it was a visual test, and it was done on a green screen map, as you can see up here. What I did was I put these big green screens I found in the workshop on Steam, and I just blew those up really big, made it really dark, just a lot easier to use than a green screen, right? Make it dark that way. And I had a lot of fun with the lighting, and I had these 2 guys here. So the story is that there's this huge war, hellish war happening, and basically D-Day in a city, or Stalingrad, I forgot how you say that. Anyway, there's this huge war going on, and these 2 guys are the last of this platoon, and this commander starts going a little bit crazy, thinking this guy's a spy, which he is. And then they start getting into a fist fight here, and this fight is actually kind of messy. And again, this is like my very first few takes. I did not do retakes. I just had the audio already made, and then I just had fun with it. So what happens here is he's looking out, taking a look at the war happening out here. By the way, this video took me about 40 hours. I wanted to create a sense of, like, an unnerving sense of like something could come out at any moment. And that's why I went with the camera take. So what I did with the camera take is actually kind of interesting. Is I actually motion captured the camera. So I took my Vive helmet off, the Vive headset off rather, not helmet, and I walked around with it, right, with the motion capture gear. And I was looking at that through my monitor, and I created like a sense of, walking around. So I'll just show you guys what I'm talking about. So this was actually attached to someone's head, and I'll show you that right now. What I did here was I named somebody a cameraman, right? It might be hard to see, but this is actually motion captured, and then I went in there and I tweaked the head, and I tied the camera to the head, and then I moved around the neck and I stretched it out. So there was, in a way, kind of literally a cameraman happening here. And the thing is that motion capture with Vive isn't 100% accurate, so I had to like do a lot of modifying. I had to like almost get rid of, like, I would say at least 60% of the original shaking of the camera here. But as you can see on the right shot, that's actually what's happening here. So yeah, I learned a lot about movements with the camera here and making it look more cinematic. This whole video was really trying to make the most cinematic animation I've ever made before. And not that I've tried to make too many cinematic ones, but as you can see here, I had the set falling apart, and this is sort of like the climax of the video, if you will. I kind of have this out of order, but I recorded 2 of these guys, so we'll get into that in a second. But I just wanted to talk about this whole scene because I really just loved making this, and it was really fun, like having this sword stuck in this guy's shoulder. I think that's what I tied it to. And that he's just like this arrogant guy that he's, he's right, but he's also kind of like losing blood and he's kind of crazy. The story is that he was kind of like nervous to take it out. The voice actors I have here, they were probably, they did their job. Obviously this was a visual test, so I wasn't too concerned about the voice acting. And the story, I wrote the story, took like 30 or 40 minutes. But yeah, so it was a really short story. It was based off something I wrote many years ago as a teenager. But anyway, I had a lot of fun doing this, creating the suspense. It was a huge bitch to make this. But, when you start out doing anything, it's going to take a long time to do it the first time. It's like riding a bike. It takes you forever to, go down the street, right? But then once you got it, you're like, pedaling around everywhere, right? So it's sort of like this with motion capture. And once you kind of understand how you can manipulate it in a way that where your motion capture data is being complemented instead of kind of overwritten, then you kind of have like really interesting, fun results. And so what I did with the lighting here was I had light volumes I think I had the light volume going up and down. But I did have the intensity going up and down for sure. And then also what I did was I started rotating the light. So I'll show you that here. I actually just had a light source right up here, as you can see on the left side, just rotating around. And so the story behind this was that maybe I was thinking that maybe it's like a broken lamp that's kind of looking through, another floor, like downstairs here. I was thinking that it's just kind of rotating, maybe shaking from the vibrations through the city that's happening, because there's like big bombs going off in the distance. Really, I just wanted to create a sense of absolute dread and doom, and that would eventually be kind of. This was actually, I don't even think this part was planned here, but the other part. Let's see. Camera 9. I have a lot of cameras here. Actually, no. See, these camera movements were actually. Yeah, this was handmade. So I didn't do this with a motion capture. I had no cameraman for this. But I'm just so happy with like the results of like everything exploding here. I had to like manipulate the debris, making it smaller. Very simple stuff, it was not that complicated. I got some really cool explosion effects from the Steam workshop. I keep wanting to call it Marketplace, but it's a workshop. Everything's free on there. And then I decided that, his friend would come in, he would shoot him. And I love this. I love this so much. I felt pretty good about this because what I did here was that as you can see, the hands are perfectly tied to this model, as with the one in the back. And so what I did here is I got this guy's hand model, right? So my hands were actually, what I did was in motion capture with Vive, I held up a pole, right? And I held this pole so my hands would keep straight, but I realized that there was still little movements happening and my hands weren't quite rotated in the right way. And even though they were, it would still slip. You could just tell that this guy was not holding the rifle. So what I did was actually I kept one hand normal. All right. So what I did was I applied a rig to this after I applied the motion capture data. And then what I did with this was I turned it into a rig. I tied the assault rifle to this hand, right? His right hand. And then I tied the left hand, I made it a slave to the rifle. So essentially it's 1, 2, 3. They're all part of the same thing. So when he points his rifle, his arm is just going to naturally be going to move like that. Now there was a little error here. I had to kind of manually adjust it, keyframe it, where his arm wouldn't be like a little bit that goofy. But yeah, so I had a lot of fun with this and figuring that out. And then same thing in the background. It was kind of hard to notice, but it took a little bit of time, is having a light kind of moving across here. Dynamic shadows are really something that I don't think enough people take advantage of in Source Filmmaker. By the way, I just tied a light to this assault rifle, kind of give it a sense of like hope kind of beaming through. And then it's kind of out of order here in the project here. Before he's able to say anything, I have him running here, getting it kind of almost exploded. And then in the background, you can actually see an apartment building falling down, but it's kind of hard to see. But his jumping is actually terrible here, so I'm going to kind of ruin the movie magic for you guys a little bit here. I don't know how it came off looking as good as it did, but it just did. So let's take a look at his feet. So I guess it's not as bad as I remember, but it's still, like, you can still, yeah, it's still really choppy. But, you know, you just got to take advantage of camera movement. I think that's why the camera moves up there a little bit. And that's when he jumps down. And so what I did was I did not motion capture myself jumping down 20 feet or anything. What I did instead, obviously, was just manipulate the animation. So I jumped like this just for like a second. All right, I was only up in the air for like a second or two. And I slowed down the animation. And I noticed that this created like kind of a really cool effect when jumping. So running, bam. And then I decided, I was like, ooh, you know, a blue light would really look cool on him because he needs some lighting. I think without the blue light, he was just not vibrant enough. But I just thought that here's the hero running away, jumping, and then this really awesome light. Kind of really showing that he's the hope here, that he can make a change here, whatever that is. So yeah, that is pretty much everything in a nutshell. The guy does get shot here. This went through a lot of iterations here, but anyway, he just kind of, his arm originally when he swatted, it just was not doing the job here. So I'm gonna tap that real quick. Let's see. So when he decided to attack Patrick, he swung his arm like this, and it looked like he missed. But so what I decided to do was that he actually kicks first, and it's kind of hard to notice a little bit, but he kicks. He swats the rifle out of his hand, which you can't even notice actually, and he punches in the stomachs, and then and then he goes for the head. And then it's kind of hard to see here. I was thinking about changing shots, but I just kind of wanted to do this all in one take, just because it looked, you know, cool. So, but you can tell he gets punched, right? And you can kind of see his fist coming down here after punching. Yeah. And this whole scene was really dark. So what I did, you may have been able to notice if you had seen the whole video, is there's like an illumination of purple. So if you ever have dark scenes like this, it's really helpful to have some kind of ambient lighting, because Source is not going to get you those dark colors that are still kind of vibrant and juicy. I picked purple because it just made sense, because I had a lot of reds, as you can see the outline of the red here. Purple just made sense, including the fact that it was night. So I just made it ever so subtle, and that took a lot of rendering and testing. And then he gets shot here. I added some bullet effects, like the bullets penetrating his armor, kind of creating these little sparks. And I'm really happy with how his eyes glow. It's kind of watching a beast die. Kind of remind me of Shadow Colossus, honestly. And he just kind of falls dead. His arm's kind of twisted up, actually. So let's see what else happens here. I guess I can show you guys like kind of like what happens in this. The tire flies up. He runs, and then he actually anticipates that explosion. That was my bad. I tried to fix that as best I could in the graph editor. And then he jumps down there, and that's scene right there. overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Seems like a lot of people like the video. Things I have learned, I think, is these models, honestly, I love the Halo 3 models, but they can't really be taken seriously. And I'm not quite sure what that is yet. I don't, despite a lot of my stuff like, Gaming versus Evil and, well, that's pretty much it. You guys probably know I don't really do many serious things. So, yeah. These models, though, just can't be taken that seriously. And I guess it's because maybe they look cartoony or they're just not that detailed. And I guess, I don't know what it is, honestly. Maybe it's just my perspective as being a Halo fan. It just doesn't look that serious. But I'm going to show you guys this perspective because this one's kind of fun, too. So this is the other side. He's saying, you've gone crazy, whatever. We'll play it.
You're going to kill us. Sir, you're wrong. Now stop this. Don't shoot. I'm a Bolivian spy.
Yeah, you can see me holding myself up there. And then we have the,
Run! Run!
there really was not
Get the man out!
explosions at first. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I can really say about this. I just learned that I can't really use these models. They just don't really look the way that a serious film should have soldiers looking. And yeah, just learned a lot about Source Filmmaker and stuff. But a lot of people enjoyed it. A lot of people complained about the voice acting in the camera. And I do admit the camera work could have been more polished, but I spent like 40 hours on this, and only for about a minute and 30 seconds I was just about done, because that's kind of an absurd amount to spend on a scene, especially a visual test. So I was like, all right. I learned what I needed to learn. I kind of played with motion capture data, kind of had to tweak and polish it like crazy, and there was some jagged head movement as well, which again I could have fixed, but I didn't care to because it was just so much. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Yeah, if you want to see the whole thing, just go to Halo Follower. I'll leave a link down below. All right, see you guys later. Peace.